earlier this year, I was curious about why we chose 6 feet as our distance for social distancing. And I read online that they had done some experimentation where they had people cough, sneeze, or talk from varying distances and how many virus particles could come out. And you needed to be exposed to a certain threshold of however many virus particles before you would get sick. And it gave me an idea. Obviously, I don't recommend trying this unless you know something that everybody else doesn't know. But it gave me an idea if you could slowly acclimate to exposure to COVID-19 viruses, right? If, let's say, X virus particles were safe to inhale or ingest or whatever the mode of transmission was, and you slowly increased the amount of COVID-19 you were exposed to, slowly, until you could hang around somebody with COVID-19 or maybe even eat some bat soup without any problems, right? If you could slowly acclimate to how much COVID-19 you were exposed to, right? But I've been wanting to slowly acclimate to a lot of other things, right? When I was a kid, I used to be very envious of people who could eat 5, 6, 7,000 calories a day without, well, poisoning themselves, right? Without getting fat, right? And I came up with this idea that, let's say you could eat 2,000 calories a day without getting fat, right? I think most people could, right? And you slowly increased it by like a calorie every day, right? The next day you eat one more calorie, 2,001 calories, 2,002 calories, 2,003 calories, until you were regularly eating 4,000 calories a day without getting fat, right? It might take several years to get there, but eventually you'll get there, right? I actually attempted to do this. Unfortunately, I found that trying to measure everything down to the 1 or 2 calories was much more trouble than it was worth. It was probably not going to be very accurate anyway. But I wish I could try this. I mean, my life is way too busy to be measuring individual calories like that. And plus, events are going to come and go, right? There are days where I don't want to eat at all, or days when I can't eat at all. I didn't realize it at the time, but last winter I had COVID-19, right? And I didn't have an appetite for quite a few days. And then there are times where I want to be celebratory, or I'm going somewhere where there's food that I like. So I don't want to be measuring down to the calorie, but it'd be nice if I could accomplish it and get that out of my way for the rest of my life, right? But of course, now that I'm all grown up, there are a lot of other things I want to enjoy besides food. So it's no longer something that important anymore, right? I thought about acclimating to getting less sleep over a period of time, right? Right now I'm sleeping 7 or 8 hours a day. There's so many things I could do if I were sleeping just 2-3 hours a day, right? See, one of the reasons I love intermittent fasting, and right now, how many hours have I fasted today so far? About 18 hours so far. I hope to do a 24-hour fast today, because today is World Mental Health Day. But one of the reasons I love intermittent fasting is that it frees up my schedule. It's not even just the hours that I'm eating. It's the fact that it intrudes on my schedule that's the problem, right? If I want to focus on a computer game that I'm writing, if I want to go on a road trip, if I want to fly somewhere, if I want to do something that requires uninterrupted attention, right? Or lately, I've been working over Zoom, right? I teach at a university, and I also do private tutoring. And when students come up with weird hours that they want, I no longer have to consider whether or not I need a meal at that time, right? I love it. See, the reason I want to cut back on both the food and the sleep is because I feel like, we all have 24 hours in the day, right? But I feel like food and sleep instantly chuck out a big piece of that 24 hours, right? And it feels like I want to reclaim some of it. Maybe not all of it, but some of it, right? And I wonder if you could acclimate to sleeping less. If you cut back by 5 or 10 minutes a day, you probably wouldn't feel it. Again, the big problem comes down to the measurements, right? You can't measure your sleep precisely to the point where you're just cutting back by, let's say it were 1 minute a day until you got down to, let's see, If you sleep 8 hours, 8 times 60, 480 minutes, if you could cut it down by a minute every night, by the end of a year, you could get by on a lot less sleep, right? Unfortunately, nobody measures their sleep down to the minute. That's been the trickiest part of it, right? If it weren't for the fact that it was so hard to measure, and that it had so much control over your life to try to measure sleep down to a minute or measure your food intake down to a calorie, I could probably do some of this, right? Okay, now this one I probably could do, but at the beginning of the COVID-19 crisis, when we were forced to lock down, I made it a goal to practice some new hobbies so that at the end of COVID-19, I could have new avenues to connect socially with people, right? And lately I've been doing a lot of bowling, right? Now that the bowling alley has reopened. Now, if I could improve my score by just 1 point every week, right, that would go a long way to getting into the big leagues, right? That one's a little bit more doable, right? To have a goal of just increasing your average score by 1 point every week, right? I love extreme sporting, and recently I was watching some base jumpers, and I was thinking, if you could increase how far you jump by like a few centimeters every time, right? Let's imagine you could jump 4 feet without a parachute and land on your feet and not get hurt, right? Now, you increase it by a centimeter every few times you attempt to jump. You're not going to... An extra centimeter is not going to kill anybody, right? Or not going to make any jump less safe, right? But if you keep increasing it by 1 centimeter every time you get comfortable, I wonder if eventually you could jump out of the top of the Freedom Towers and land on your feet first without getting hurt, right? That skill would have came really in handy 19 years ago, right? And I wonder if you could just acclimate like 1 centimeter at a time, right? Anyways, some food for thought here.